Thank you very much for keeping your dials on Joy 99.7 FM, on Love 99.5 in Kumasi, and over a dozen affiliate stations via which you are listening to us. And on television, this is your Joy News channel. The show is subsequently available on your Sky ABN television, on your Sky platform. Thank you very much indeed. And in the course of the week, a team of journalists far away did some investigations and published the conclusions. And the conclusions were that there have been some, 203 countries who have individuals in there, politicians and big business persons, who have stashed huge sums of money in excess of some 80, how much? Okay, I'll get some of the details to you. It's very, 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 disheartening. Stash all the money into Swiss banks, and some of them have been mainly evasion of taxes, out of which those illegal monies have been put into those bank accounts. Ghana was ranked 106 out of the 203 countries. There are those who suggest that Ghana must have a way of breaking through the Swiss bank and to get these monies for its development. I'd like to start this one with Kofi Bento. When you first read the story, yes, it does appear the individuals are not named. So what at all can we do? And this issue of Swiss banks and secret accounts is not a new thing.
Look, exactly my feel. I mean, it may sound counterintuitive, it may sound funny that I have this approach, but the approach is one, this is too little and there is no news here. I have no, surprise about the fact that Ghanaian politicians and big business people, and the business people don't worry me as much as the politicians, have been stashing our money in Swiss banks and other banks, okay, for years, decades. So there's no news there. We should find a way to retrieve them. We can't find a way, fine. This new one is talking about some 89 million, and there are no names. And my question is, so what should we do about it? I mean, we have situations here in this country, 51 or so million. We've gone to the Supreme Court. We've had judgments of the go and collect, you haven't collected. Then we are talking about another one in another jurisdiction without names, and somebody wants us to go jumping about it. We have real problems we can go and deal with. It's a problem, but it is not yet the kind of thing that I want to worry about. I want to worry about what is going on here now, the ones that are within reach that I can take, okay, and the things that I can prevent, the JIDA, SADA, SUBA, all kinds of things that we can wrap up right now. We are going to IMF for 1.5 billion, and they won't even give it to us. Okay, we are asking for 500 million for energy. They won't give it to us? Mark my words. They won't give us even 1 billion. Okay, so for me, this story really is not something we should all be pursuing. There are a few other things we should do which will give us more direct benefit.
Very interesting there. Let me hear Kuku on this. Kuku, really, there are those who suggest that, yes, the names have not been put out, but we should make the effort as a state to go and find out who in Ghana, which politician in Ghana is part of the list of those who have stashed the $89 million, dollars in the Swiss bank.
Yes. No names. That's a weak link in the chain. But it's not a mission impossible to proceed further in trying to get details.
Not a mission impossible?
It is not a mission impossible. It's not going to be easy, but it's not a mission impossible. There are two levels. The International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, they are the source. They are having in their possession these secret files. It is now clear that the files are authentic to a large extent. But it's also clear that there are some names and certain things in there that have turned out not to be totally accurate. I'm sure you know that in some of the names that have been dropped in terms of some foreign names and certain transactions and things have been explained. So, but 90 to 95%, we are dealing here with authentic bank documentations that have been hijacked and is in the hands of International Consortium of investigative journalists cutting across many countries. So it is possible to assess, depending on who approaches them and how the approach is made. I believe we should find ways of doing that. Even we media houses could find ways and means of linking up. Some of them are allies, are friends in the international journalistic field. But the state also could undertake an exercise on the quiet. There shouldn't be too much publicity, too much noise about this. To contact this, I know 1 or 2 contacts have been made. This is not by the state.
Okay.
Non-state actors, I'm aware, the last 3 days, to try and get to them through some other organizations based in the UK, just to be able to get, some of the things, at least concerning Ghana. So I wouldn't be surprised if within the next 3-4 weeks, some information comes the Ghanaian way, to find out what really is going on. It's in our interest.
Maybe the state should hire and collaborate with us.
Well, I didn't want to mention this, but I can bet you that something has already begun. Because you see, those who form that consortium, there are some of them who know Ghanaian journalists who have been working with them over some things. Some international investigative bodies, CRO, G3, and all the rest, have had connections. And some of them are part of this international consortium. So some moves are being made, but this is private. It has nothing to do with the state. The other option is that, yes, if the state is so minded and so committed, the state too, on the quiet, could initiate. Still the same target, the IC, the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. I'm not sure the bank, the HSB itself, is its own practices are being questioned. In this case, in this saga, So I'm not sure they'll be prepared to deal directly. The documents, the confidential documents already in the public have been leaked. They have no control now. They tried to get it destroyed. They were pleading with the journalists to destroy the data. This is about a year or 2 ago. The journalists refused. And so now it's public. We should find ways and means of assessing. As journalists, we should also try.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, but I know 2-3 moves have already been made.
And you may also be thinking of the precedent that we know where some African politicians or even elsewhere, their accounts, their bank details were disclosed in these same Swiss banks that are allegedly don't disclose these
I don't want to mention names and events here, but even here in our own country, we've had some instances.
Okay.
You understand? I think it's wrong. They wouldn't want a disclosure. I was going to mention a name of an international organization which did some work in 2002, which led to the discovery of an account in the name of a prominent personality in this country. And it's the same, they are part of this group. That international organization is part of this group. So I think that, you see, we should hold our fire. In the next 3-4 weeks, the Ghanaian connection to this matter may come forward. Names may be put out there. And that one, then the state will be compelled to follow it, depending on whether it was, some could be genuine business by the evaded tax. Some could be corruption, results of corruption.
Okay.
So we should be very careful. It's not the whole thing that is just corruption. Well, that one, I won't answer that question.
So what are we fighting for?
No, but the exposure is also important.
Exposure is important.
That's inspiring news. Okay. Yes, Baba.
See, I find it sometimes interesting and amazing that when genuine issues like this come for us to discuss, we want to digress into things like we have monies we have to collect at the local level, we are not collecting. These are, sometimes we trivialize issues. It's
No,
not,
but I thought we knew where he was coming from.
No, yes, I'm really addressing that directly. Because you see, when we are in a country of law, people have been taken to court. Court processes are on. People have been asked to pay money. They are taking through some negotiations, some debt reconciliation and whatever to ensure that those monies are retrieved. Somebody just gets up and says that money is there, go and collect, you won't go and collect. I mean, at our level, when we speak like this, it's very sad because you don't. What do you expect those on the ground?
You have also been a little familiar with the way the court
yes,
operates.
Yes. And you tell me that the court is very.
No, tell me about this. Tell me about this. Do you genuinely believe that if the monies that the Supreme Court pronounced unequivocally that they are Ghana's monies and ought to be taken back, if this pronouncement had been in favor of a private entity or an individual, we still would have been saying we are negotiating reconciliation of money matters?
I don't want to be speculative on this, but what I am want to see what is happening today, the realities, is that if a pronouncement is made, people are filing all sort of processes in court to stop it or whatever. And as a lawyer, you know that a pronouncement can be somebody can then stop it. So please,
as a lawyer, he knows that he
knows that. That is why I don't expect him. I don't expect him to be going that direction. Don't let us trivialize things. When we come and say we have money, they go and collect it. People sometimes they want to say, oh, Jida, what, Otovo. Please, these are all subject to legal issues. We need to understand that we are in a country of law. Let's all know, if you have a problem as an individual, you can take the state on. What are you doing? If you're not doing that, then you just always want to trivialize.
That's what he's doing.
No.
Okay,
just
so
saying
his action.
Follow it up with an action.
There are laws that were given.
Please, don't just say it.
No,
if you have a case as a lawyer, you know what to do.
We are supposed to have collected, not even through courts, not even through courts.
In any case, let me come
monies
to what,
that were given as loans illegally.
If it is illegal, what have you done? Practically,
I'm not going to list the things
Don't
I've
just
done
say
here.
it.
But you are government.
Take action. We want, as a government is supposed to be responsible to the people. So as a lawyer, you have every right to take action. As an individual, you have every right to file processes to compel government to take action.
I'm taking action now.
So please,
do it.
So please, action. So do it.
I am saying, why haven't we collected the money from RMG?
So now those whys will be answered when you file the process.
Well, we filed one and we'll get the answers.
Then it will be answered.
Okay,
and no, I mean, when it comes to this issue like this, I'm happy. I mean, people quickly telling that some moves are being made. You see, when you come and just say it, and there are no names, there are no links, it becomes difficult to approach. And we all know how these, especially international global banks, work. It's be difficult if they say they won't give you information. It's difficult to get it. Very difficult.
But
now this is outside
the journalists have the document.
That's why I'm saying that if some people have succeeded in getting them, it's good news that we have something that we can, a link we can do. If it is something that we can chase, why not? As a country, we need money. And if people have our money somewhere, whether they evaded tax, whether it's corruption, whatever it is, if it is retrieved, we'll benefit.
So that is something that if we are not able to deal with the local one sufficiently.
No, that is what I'm saying.
That's the point
you see, the local one is not something that is already, it's not a completed process. So for you to come and say that government has abandoned them.
I am referring to the completed one.
Which completed what? Which one?
Loans were given illegally. We should have retrieved
which one? Where?
The JIDA report.
Exactly, that's what I'm
Let me
you
talk.
Don't know.
So let me talk.
You don't
I'm telling you the ones that we can collect today.
Yes.
RMG is supposed to have paid monies back.
Exactly.
Loans that were given without interest improperly.
Very well.
We have not collected them. It didn't require a court. You just needed to get that done.
Hold it there.
And this is just
that
one.
is when I want to tell you that I am deeply involved in those processes.
Well, how many years?
And I'm telling you,
so the point I'm making is don't go chasing
RLG got paid the first quarter. The investment group have not paid the rest yet.
And they're working around.
Or if they are paid,
I am saying that there are efforts
over how many years?
That we are meeting. That was what we set up, that debt reconciliation.
Don't explain. My point therefore stands. That we haven't finished doing that. Why are we going to go to Switzerland?
Don't just push. Don't just throw it out there.
You say you are doing something about it, and I'm saying, well, it's taking too long.
So if you think you are a lawyer, take action.
I have taken action.
Thank you. We'll be waiting for it.
Thank you.
I think I'm a bit worried about the logic of the discussion. The fact that we have not collected the local one
We shouldn't change the
We
foreign
shouldn't change the
They
foreign
say
one.
a bird in hand.
I'm worried about it. But it's true, it's important that we collect what is near us. But also, we should make an effort, as Kokuaku is saying, to collect the one that has also come to our notice. And what can one say on this?
Yet to come to our notice.
Okay, yet to come to our notice. Okay. What can one say about this? The details are not out. Some effort is being made by some people who are trying to help us. Let's wait. When the details come out, we can talk more about this. But for now,
so do you support?
I support the effort being made.
Saying that the state should take a role.
Yeah. I think that all efforts should be made to retrieve it. Even with the local one, I'm not saying that we should ignore the foreign one because we have not collected the local one. I don't subscribe to that.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And before we go, there's this letter I received from the IE. I'm just going to share it, and then we'll close the show. It's very, very threatening. The Institute of Economic Affairs, a public policy institute, is talking about a possibility that this country is going to go into a certain trend that may be very, very, very unpalatable for all of us. It says the IEA, I'll go in here, it's talking about some proposals it wants to use to help so that the way we spend is properly checked. Then it starts by giving us a history that by 1983, Ghana's economy was at the brink of collapse due to its huge national debt and high fiscal deficits. The national debt had reached a catastrophic level of 107.5% of GDP. Inflation was 142%. And commercial banks have stopped lending to commercial enterprises. The economy was steering on the precipice of complete collapse. We had mismanaged ourselves and were at the brink of total failure. We needed help to save ourselves. The leaders of the country had no option than to run to the IMF and the World Bank to seek help to revive Ghana's sick economy. The IMF responded with a battery of conditionalities which put the people of Ghana through a nerve-wrenching exercise in order to bring back the economy from the brink of disaster. They imposed heavy conditions on the government and citizens, particularly the poor. As a result, several national assets, including state-owned enterprises, were sold, and several employees were laid off without any explanation, except that the leadership had mismanaged the finances of the country. We were all told to tighten our belts. Between 1990 and 1991, the painful medicine administered by the IMF and the World Bank began to show results. Our national debt was reduced to 31.9% of GDP from 120%. Inflation was brought down from 42% to about 10%. That's really wide. And interest rates were down to 15% from a high of 50%. In the process, many casualties were created. However, that was the price to pay for the mismanagement of the economy. That was the period of structural adjustment. With the economy now stabilized and the mission accomplished, the IMF passed the baton to our political leaders to carry on with the race. We had been given a new lease of life, and it was our responsibility to manage our fiscal affairs prudently and with the utmost care. Now, listen to these bits. Not long after the departure of the IMF, our political leadership squandered the opportunity created for economic growth and went back to their old culture. They borrowed huge sums of money under the guise of development between 1992 and 1995. As a result, our national debt ballooned to 97% of GDP and 33% in 1992. The picture remained gloomy until 1996. Thankfully, from the 1996 to 1998, there was a glimmer of hope, and we experienced a slight decrease in the national debt from 78% to about 70%. Regrettably, this was short-lived, and by 1999 and 2000, the painful sacrifices of our country, our citizens, had come to nothing. Our leaders had become addicted to borrowing without limits to the extent that, once again, our national debt exploded from 70% in 1998 to 123% of GDP in 2000. Extreme hardship on the citizenry reared its ugly head again. Inflation rose to more than 25%, and interest rates on the loan shot up to between 40 and 50%. Once again, the country was assaulted with excessive borrowing and spending to a point where we teetered on the brink of bankruptcy. How could we have allowed this to happen again just within 10 years? Very important point, how they are going to end this. They say that it was no wonder, therefore, that in 2001, without any shame, our leaders wobbled back to the IMF and the World Bank to beg for debt forgiveness. Lo and behold, the IMF and the World Bank forgave us our trespasses, our debts, under a new program called the Heavily Indebted Poor Countries, HIPIC. This pardon didn't come without our usual bitter measures to swallow. They trace back to 2008, and they are coming to 2014 to say that we are borrowing so much so that this country is yet again heading back to a situation that we may not be able to control if we don't have a fiscal policy that limits how much we borrow. So this is from the IMF, and just sharing with you. IEA, and then we'll publish it on my journal online so that you can also read. It's very scary. We hope none of this comes to us with borrowing that they claim is a borrowing without a lot of sense. My guests have been Abdul Malik Kwekubaku, Jr., Editor-in-Chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. Baba Jamal is the Deputy Minister for Employment and Labor Relations. He's also MP. Also, Kofi Bento is a lawyer. He is with Imani Ghana. He's a Vice President and he's a lecturer. Also, Abuga Pele is MP and former coordinator of the now YEA. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Have a